When I left the hospital, I was in a fog. My life had been turned upside down, or inside out as I felt now, by a simple DNA test. Now I could not and did not want to return home. I needed to think. So I headed to a bar near the hospital and ordered a large Bloody Mary, at least once, but I really needed this drink. The bar was empty, so I took my drink, sat at a separate table, and began to think. My life as I imagined it was now over. I'm not one to put off urgent matters, but I wanted to think and make sure all my future actions were reasonable before heading home. I'm Bob, I am 42 years old and have been married to Nancy for 15 years. Nancy is a year younger than me and we have two beautiful little girls, 11-year-old Andrea and 8-year-old Kimberly. Just an hour ago, our life was simple, a little predictable, but full of love and wonderful moments. This has changed dramatically. Of course, I didn't want to lose the girls, but if it came to that, well, in the long run when my plan came to fruition, it would probably be better for them. Instead of a messy marriage full of resentment and mistrust, it would be better to simply end it and start over. I arrived home and Nancy's Lexus was already in the driveway. As expected, the children were not at home and I could immediately talk to my wife. I'm not an actor, but I managed to hide my true feelings and even put a smile on my face. Returning from work, Nancy was in the kitchen. Since I was a school principal and she worked as an accountant, we both had a regular schedule and always shared the day-to-day work of the family. It was her day to cook dinner and she barely glanced at me when I kissed her on the cheek. I got a good look at her. She was still as beautiful as when we met, just a little tighter as we all do over the years. Busy for several minutes, she finally put dinner in the oven and turned to me sitting at the kitchen table. As always, her green eyes and blonde hair took my breath away. I am considered a handsome man, about 6 feet tall and weighing 180 pounds. And Nancy has always been a very bright and attractive woman. She raised her eyebrows at me and her questioning gaze met my smile. Something sweet or funny? I stood up and hugged her. As I looked down at her, I realized that my height and looks were one of the reasons she allowed me into her life. My hug was followed by a gentle, probing kiss that gained momentum and turned into a hungry French kiss. I paused. I love you so much it hurts, I said. Okay, now the moment of truth has come. Well, I have very good news. Do you know how much I love my girls? But I always wanted a boy. Yes, she answered completely confused. Well, soon I will become the father of a boy, I said. Nancy was stunned. What? I don't understand. What are you talking about, the boy? I'm not pregnant. Not with you, but I will become the father of a boy in 5 months, if nothing goes wrong, God forbid, I said, forcing myself to smile. Well, the force of the powerful slap wiped away the smile. This was expected, but it still hurt a lot. But honey, I love you. It was just an accident. It was just sex. I argued with her, but to no avail. Over the next few hours, Nancy experienced a range of emotions, from devastation at the betrayal to anger and rage. The girls were sent straight to their bedroom while Nancy vented her frustration and anger. Soon I packed my suitcase and left the house, never to return. The following week, I was served with divorce papers. The reason for divorce is infidelity. It means a lot in our state. I was only given a few hours of visiting time with the girls each week. I often received calls from Nancy, who needed to vent her emotions. She was in pain, very painful. I never had an answer to her repeated question, "Why did you do this to me?" With us, all my requests to leave this behind and continue as before were met with a wall of anger and complete refusal. I was a bastard, and she would take me to the cleaners. 4 months later, we finally made it to court. My lawyer did challenge her proposal for unequal division of assets, as well as her proposed child custody. The judge began to ponder the motive. He asked if I disputed the charge of infidelity. My lawyer was not at all surprised when I said that not only did I not dispute the motive for infidelity, but I also provided data to substantiate it. Both the wife's lawyer and the judge were taken by surprise. Do you understand, sir, that with regard to your infidelity, the plaintiff has presented no evidence? And if I rule on this divorce with evidence of infidelity, that will directly affect what my decision will be? The 50-50 division of assets you asked for would be impossible to achieve, the judge explained. May I come, Your Honor? Asked my lawyer. Both lawyers approached the judge. Lawyer Nancy was very pleased with the development of events. However, I saw his smile freeze on his face as my lawyer presented the judge with medical DNA evidence of Nancy's long-term infidelity. I could tell the judge was really angry. After some time, he removed both lawyers from himself. I knew what was going on, but Nancy had a puzzled look on her face. The lawyer whispered something to her. Her face turned pale, as if blood had flowed out of it. She looked at me in complete amazement. The judge said, "This is an unexpected turn of events, and I am really put off by the overall impression that this court has been taken advantage of and deceived. However, I must understand that divorce proceedings are always a way to take revenge on the other spouse." The judge looked at me. "You were playing a dangerous game of perjury, and without this subsequent confession, it could have cost you dearly. Could you take a moment to explain?" Your Honor, when I found out that neither of my 2 children were mine, as confirmed by DNA testing, but had the same father, this meant that my wife had been cheating on me throughout the marriage. I am guilty of wanting her to also go through all the pain and sadness that her behavior caused me, I began to say. She can now take comfort in knowing that every bit of emotion she's felt over the last few months is what I'm feeling too. It didn't matter that her emotions weren't based on facts. I should also note that all my requests to leave my confession behind were categorically rejected by her. At least I wasn't lying by omission, like she had been doing for the last 12 years. I love our 2 children deeply and wanted her to accept my offer to leave everything behind. I was willing to try to forgive her for the sake of the children. Within 4 months, she had many chances to avoid this mess and save our marriage. She didn't. The assets were split in 2, and the judge also ordered shared custody of our 2 angels. A few months later, after finding out who the father was, I also won a lawsuit against Nancy's boss, who awarded me over $200,000 in past child support and other expenses, because DNA showed he was the father. Then, after testimony from some of Nancy's employees and managers who knew about her long-term affair with her boss, my lawyer sued their company for a much larger sum. The payout was ultimately agreed upon at about $450,000 for me after attorney's fees. Just to be clear, I love these 2 girls very much and want them to continue to be a part of my future. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one, out listening to the next one.